Welcome to the MPAC Zoomcast. I'm Ed Kirchdoerffer, Chief Operating Officer at Mayo Performing Arts Center. On Friday, September 27th, we present Glen Burtnik's Summer of Love concert. And we are joined today by the aforementioned Glen Burtnik to talk about the concert. Hey, Glen, thanks for spending a few minutes with us today. We appreciate it.
I'm happy to. Thanks for having me.
We've had this concert here a few times. It always does really well. It usually, sells out. We're recording this in early September, so we still have some tickets left to sell here. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the show?
Gee, I can't remember how long ago it was, maybe 12 years ago we started the show, but I really grew up in the 60s and at some point about 25 years ago, I started to, I'd have a playlist on my whatever my devices were at the time, and I called it the Summer of Love, and I'd collect the music from my youth, especially the late 60s. The Summer of Love was technically 1967, but that music always was in the back of my mind and always very important to me as a musician and a songwriter. And I've done a lot of things in my career, and I've sort of changed with the times over years. But at this point, I decided about 12 years ago, well, let's go back and revisit some of that classic material from the late 60s, thought of, you might say, the Woodstock generation. And so we put a show together, and I asked a bunch of friends, a bunch of really talented singers, songwriters, musicians to join me in celebrating this incredible era of music, the era of Sly and the Family Stone and the Mamas and the Papas and Jimi Hendrix and the Doors and the Rolling Stones and all the amazing music that took place in the late 60s and early 70s. So, and we call it the Summer of Love, and it's been a blast. It's every show, the audience comes alive. It's a great audience that comes to see us, and some people get dressed up, which is awesome. We're pretty dressed up on stage, but then to see audience members wearing tie-dye and other things, it's a lot of fun. It's a whole lot of fun.
Why do you think the music of that era just continues to resonate today?
I wish I knew. I mean, I consider all of those musicians, all of those artists to be pioneers. The industry was still young enough. The record buying public, also the baby boom happened. And, before the 1950s, the term teenager didn't exist. There was no such thing as that social group. But because after the Second World War, there was this amazing onslaught of a new generation who suddenly they started to embrace rock and roll, and they started to buy their own records. And the cult of teenagedom grew up. And by the time Woodstock came along, and by the time 1967 exploded with Sgt. Pepper and the Doors and all of the other great things that happened then, they were in the perfect age group.
Is there a particular artist that you really enjoy performing that artist's music, or you find very challenging as an artist yourself to replicate?
Well, it is a lot. We do basically one song from each artist, and that takes a lot of concentration because, going from Otis Redding to the Lemon Pipers, Green Tambourine. This is a stretch, but we have a really, really talented crew of musicians, great rhythm section, people that are capable of adapting different styles. So yeah, there's so many of us. There's almost 20 people on stage, and everybody can sing and perform. So we take turns in the emulating of that music.
Does the show content change from one venue to another? Do you stick to the same format, or does this depend on how you feel that night and kind of what's working for it?
We do write a set list in advance,
Mm,
but we do change often, and it's actually, that's one of the challenges, because when we do, Jaquita comes out and does a Tina Turner show in the middle of our show, and it's so bombastic and it's so beloved by the audiences that it's like the next time we do a show, it's like, well, we got to do that, so we try to mix in stuff that we don't do all the time with the things we know will please the audience.
mhm. I know a lot of the audience that comes to the show probably has more gray hair than they want to admit to, but are you seeing a new generation, younger people kind of learning this music for the first time? And that must be exciting to see that.
Yeah, certainly there actually are a number of different demographics represented in the Summer of Love audience, but you're right. I think it's predominantly people that remember this music, remember this era, and people like me, and it's great, and it's great to see older people having so much fun and younger people singing and dancing along. And I mean, that's a funny thing about the younger generations now, is that classic rock is as popular as modern pop music.
It's Glen Burtnik's Summer of Love concert, Friday, September 27th. Glen, where can people find out more information about you or the concert, aside from Mayo?
Well, I don't know. Let's see. Look up a Summer of Love concert on Facebook, or I think it's summerofloveconcert.com, or look up Glen Burtnik on Facebook. I have multiple spellings of my name. I'm also in a group called the Weaklings. I'm all over the place. Just, type my name in and you'll find stuff.